Good morning, everyone. Good to see all of you. I know you didn't expect to see me up here at the microphone this early, right? Well, we're going to start early and I get to preach longer, so. I'm kidding. Brother Jimmy is not here. This is one of 2 weekends that he goes to Kentucky, and like there's probably a lot of other people down there, I don't know. But he's not here, and ordinarily then you'd have your assistant superintendent, Brother Jacob, here, right? Well, he's here, but he's back there because Anthony had to go preach somewhere, and we didn't want to overload Carson, so Jacob's back there, and he said, what are we going to do? And I said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. So here we are, okay? I have played. I like you too, Jack. You're all right. So we're shaking things up a little bit. I've been Sunday school superintendent years ago before I started preaching, so we can do that, can't we? That's not a problem. But it's good to see all of you that are here. And I know that this is a holiday weekend. You'll probably spend some time with family, and that's a good thing too, right? But right now we're going to go ahead with our program. I'm going to ask our ushers if they will come forward. We'll ask everyone to stand. And Brother Dan will have a song picked out for us, I'm pretty sure.
Number 759.
Okay. Brother Glenn, would you give thanks for the offering for us, please?
Oh, beautiful.
All right, somebody so kindly left me a list up here so I won't forget, you know. Never forget the offering, but I could forget anything else. So. Anybody have a birthday this past week that wants to? There's two of them. Anybody else? How about three? All right, no other birthdays? You guys? That's good. Okay. You guys get a pencil or a pen or whatever you want? All right, let's sing happy birthday to them. Help them out. Ready? Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God bless you. Happy birthday to you. All right, any anniversaries this past week? Anybody have an anniversary? If they do, they don't want to admit it. So we'll move on from that. Okay. Announcements we've got is no church tonight. This is Memorial Day weekend. You'll probably want to spend some time with family. And if you're kind of new to the church, you know, and you don't know this, still a lot of people in this church can trace their ancestry down to where I live. And that's where a lot of them used to go. But now we're looking at the third or fourth or fifth generation, and they don't go down there anymore. And I guess that's all right. And, of course, some of you just got too old to make the trip. So there we go. We know that's true, right? So, but we know there's some down there. We're glad to have you here. But no church tonight. Next Sunday morning, we will have the Joy Makers here. It's our fifth Sunday sing, and it's actually going to happen on the fifth Sunday this time. So we enjoy the Joy Makers, and we're looking forward to them coming. I've noticed that some of you have shared on Facebook about the Joy Makers coming. Appreciate that. Word of mouth is even better. Let everybody know. Love to have a good crowd for the Joy Makers as they come. Wednesday night Bible study, where you at, Brother Rick? It says on here that you are in charge.
Yes, sir.
Chapter 23. At the beginning, right? At the beginning. Good. If you've been behind and you hate to jump in the middle of something, you're starting a new chapter. So come on, chapter 23, Wednesday night. So let's remember that. Also remember that the annual business meeting will be on June the 1st. And if you're a member and you don't know what the annual business meeting is about, you need to show up on June the 1st for the annual business meeting. That's where you elect all of your leadership for the next year. And I'll just give you a heads up. If you don't want me coming back, campaign and vote against me, and I won't come back, okay? But I'm just going to threaten you. If you want me to come back, I'll come back. So that's all part of the annual business meeting, which will be June the 1st. So let's remember that. Bible school, you want to put a word in for Bible school? June 8th through the 12th. Okay, and still got plenty of volunteers that you need, or are we pretty full? Okay. So if you've ever thought about helping out in Bible school and you never have, now's a good time. They won't throw you in the midst of the fire. They'll just keep you on the outer rims where you can take part, see what's going on, okay? Because it can get pretty busy. No other announcements, and I don't have anything else written down here. Junior church, are you ready to go? Why, yes, they are. I had, there's a couple of things here. I knew I'd forget something. You got to flag me down sometimes. I found this card on here. It's got a picture of a young lady. Looks an awful lot like you, Kenna. Is that you right there? I thought it was. It's even got your name on there, okay? If you haven't been paying any attention, this young lady's been awarded a lot of things. They do that to seniors. And I hate to tell you, but you go to college and you're a nobody again, okay? But sounds like they're having a gathering on Sunday, May the 30th at 4:30 p.m. And at 8364 South Edinburgh Road in Edinburgh, Indiana. We'll put this on the wall, the board, that's what it's called, isn't it? But it's just to celebrate her graduation, and it said there'll be sandwiches, dips, dessert, drinks, and yard games. So it sounds like somebody's fixing to have a lot of fun, so that's cool. We'll put it on the board, and always good to celebrate when somebody makes that milestone in life, because everybody doesn't do that, you know. I mean, I graduated from high school, but I didn't graduate from college because I was too dumb and unprepared to go. So, but I went anyway for a little while. Okay. We have a card here that we want to read, and it says, "Dear church family, on behalf of my family and myself, we want to express our deepest gratitude of love and support shown during the loss of Greg. Your prayers, kindness, heartfelt cards to providing food and support. You have shown us what it means to be the hands and feet of Jesus. We are blessed to have such a caring church family." And the card says, "Your thoughtfulness means so much more than words can say." And with appreciation, that is Sister Phyllis and the family. And we know that you are still in grief over the loss of Greg, and boy, I miss him too, you know. But once in a while, God takes one of us home, and we love you guys and appreciate you, so we'll put that up on the board too. All right. I don't have my notes anymore because they're over there, but I know right now Jimmy goes to prayer. So has anybody got a special prayer request? I want to tell you this. Brother Jeff Smith called me and said his mother got home. Louisa's home. She ain't well, but she's home. Okay? Still suffering with some AFib and some other issues, so we still need to remember to pray for her. And then I've had 2 or 3 more told to me, and I'm not like Jimmy, I didn't write them down. I'm just going, okay, you know, came up here. But we know there's a lot of sick people. So anybody got a special request that you want to make before we go to prayer? Okay. Okay. So remember that. Anybody else? Okay. Yes. Okay. Oh, Sue's not with you. Yeah, let's remember that. And we have other people in the church I know that are hurting. Yes. Yes. Have you heard anything new on her? Okay. Okay. And we know that Steve Weber had to go to the hospital this week, but I understand he's doing okay. Yes. Remember Karen Burton's son. We know that he's in bad shape and spiritually in bad shape, so we need to pray for him too. Anybody else? Brother Johnny Perkins has got a messed up hand. He's not doing too good either. Can't work. Can't provide for your family if you don't work, you know. So let's remember him. Sister Pam Hall. Yeah. So remember John and Tina. Tina's with us a lot of times, but John, if you don't know him, he's on oxygen full time, so his lungs aren't great anyway, and to have pneumonia in both of them, that's a serious thing. So just remember that. Anybody else? See, you can refresh me on these things and I remember them. Anybody else?
Thank you all for praying for my dad. He still continues to struggle, but I appreciate that. And I have another book.
Okay. Just remember that. Okay.
Pray for my dad. He goes in on June 2nd to get a heart cath done. They're going to be going in through his wrist on his arm, and he's an anxious guy. So pray that the Holy Spirit will just go by and give him some peace.
Amen. Just remember that. Anybody else?
Brittany might know what it is, but Brother Allen Wigington's having a.
Yes, Alan's supposed to have a heart cath here next week, isn't he? I think it's next week. Yeah, Anthony told me that yesterday. She's checking her phone. You know, 20 years ago, people would have thought you were nuts for checking your phone for details like that, but it's what we do, don't we?
It's June 1st as well. I thought it was June 1st, but then I was like, that's annual business meeting.
Okay. Okay, well, let's remember Brother Al then. Anybody else? Okay, if you don't have any more requests, we will go to prayer. And Brother Guy, would you lead us in this prayer, please?
Dear Father, again, we thank you, Lord, for the wonderful day that you've given us. We thank you, Lord, for the privilege that it is to be in your house. We thank you, Lord, for those that are here. We thank you, Father, that we know that we can bring our petitions and our requests to you. And Lord, that we know that whatever the need is, that in whatever way that you see fit, Lord, that it will be met. We just thank you, Lord, for everything that you've done. There's so many, God, as we've done heard, that are sick, that are hurting, that's in the hospital, that's going through procedures. Lord, so many things, God, that people are dealing with in this life. And we know that you have the comfort and the help that they need if we will just trust you and lean upon you. We just thank you, Lord, that we have that and that we can rely upon you. But most importantly, Father, even with all the health things that we could all go through, Lord, our lost people, Father, they need conviction. Lord, they need the touch of the Holy Spirit to help them to see, Lord, if they're lost. Help them to know that they're sinners, Father, that they need saved, that they need to come to repentance. Father, we pray that you would be with each and every one of them, Lord, and that you would open up their heart to you. We pray, Father, that you would be with Brother Danny today. Lord, give him, Father, what is needful, and help us, Father, to receive, Lord, what it is that we have need of, that we would take the word and apply it to our life, and that we would just trust in you, that whatever that it would be that you would want us to do, that we would look to you for the strength to do it, and to know that it's there if we will just ask. Seek and knock, Father. It's all there if we will just do that. Again, we love you, Lord. Have your way in this service. If there be somebody here today that's lost, somebody that's online that is searching and looking for answers in their life, we pray, Father, that you would be with them. Open up their heart, God. And if there's somebody here that's lost, we pray for the touch of the Holy Spirit, the only one that's going to bring us, Father, to the realization that we need you. Again, we love you. Have your way, we pray this day in our life. And it's in the precious name of Jesus that we ask these things. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay, has anybody got a special song for us today or anything you want to share with us? Anybody at all? In case you guys are wondering, I like little voices like that in church. I know it really bothers parents and grandparents, but you know what? That's life. That is life. I like to hear that. I don't know how many times I got took down in the basement and got a whipping for doing that when I was a kid, but you know, it's life and I like it. And, you know, because most of you know the church I pastored prior to coming here had no children whatsoever. For 7 years, we did not hear a child's voice. So that's music to me. And speaking of music, here comes Sister Stephanie.
I had a request to sing, so I'm going to sing an old standby that I love. If I can find the page. And you can sing along with me. Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, my constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. Let not your heart be troubled. His tender words I hear, and resting on his goodness, I lose my doubt and fear. Though watches me. And that gives me so much comfort to know that He watches us, He sees us, whatever we're going through, He's right there, and He just takes care of us. He leads us one step at a time. He leads us.
Thank you, Sister Stephanie. That's an old standby, but it's a good old standby, ain't it? Anybody else got a song you want to sing today? Sister Libby. She never brings a book.
I know that I failed you, Lord, time and again, but each time you've always stayed true, and that's why I kneel at the cross once again and ask to draw closer to you. Closer to you, Lord, closer I pray. Help me draw closer to your will today. It doesn't matter what others may do. I want to draw closer to you. Lord, I surrender all that I am for whatever you'd have me do. I faith in your promise. I know that you'll show a way to draw closer to you, closer to you, Lord, closer I pray. Help me draw closer to your will today. It doesn't matter what others may do. I want to draw closer to you.
Thank you, Sister Libby. Anybody else got something? The ladies are making you men look bad. You know that, don't you? Of course, that ain't hard because the ladies are better looking than the rest of us. So come on up here.
I've sung this song before. It means a lot to me, and in light of the many problems I'm going through right now, including acute heart failure, this song has really been my praise song lately. Strong, try to make 'em all think I'm strong. Yeah, the face I keep putting on says I ain't tired, but these tear-stained eyes ain't lying. 'Cause hard, nobody told me life could be so hard. A weary soul with a worn-out heart that's barely beating. But every time I get that feeling, I hit my knees with my hands held high, saying, Dear Lord Jesus, you know I can't do this on my own. I can't do this on my own. Lord knows I've tried, but I'm good at falling down. Thank God you're good at picking me up off the ground. The world's gonna try to break me, but I know the one who makes me strong. Strong, like my daddy always told me so. There's a place you can always go when you got nothing. And then he handed me the one thing that's strong. Doesn't matter how old it gets, There's power in the words written in this old Bible. And when I'm desperate for revival, I hit my knees with my hands held high, saying, Dear Lord Jesus, you know I can't do this on my own. I can't do this on my own. Lord knows I've tried, but I'm good at falling down. Thank God you're good at picking me up off the ground. The world's gonna try to break me, but I know the one who makes me strong. Oh, strong. I'm strong when I got nothing. I'm strong even when I'm weak, 'cause the strong arms of my Savior are holding on to me. I hit my knees with my hands held high, saying, Dear Lord Jesus, you know I can't do this on my own. I can't do this on my own. Lord knows I've tried, but I'm good at falling down. Thank God you're good at picking me up off the ground. World's gonna try to break me, but I know the one who makes me strong. You make me strong. Oh, this world ain't gonna break me, 'cause I know the one who makes me strong.
It's your heart, Sister Ariel. I heard a fellow say one time one of the big differences between the church, Christians, and sinners is sinners fall down and stay down. We fall down and we get back up. That's true. It is. But we get back up with the help of the Lord, don't we? Yeah. Anybody else got a song today? If not, it's on the list here. Are you ready for the preacher? I keep waiting for him to look at me and say, are you ready for the congregation? And he never does. We're just all messed up today, aren't we? But that's okay. I'm used to ad-libbing more than I am reading the proceedings. So anyway, we got it. All right. Well, it's good to see you. It really is good to be here. Lord's been good to us in so many ways. You guys have got plenty of rain. Do me a favor and ask God to send some south of the Ohio River, just a little bit. We've been in what they call serious drought for a little while now, and this week I think we got 1.5 inches, and we probably need about that much more and more probably. But God will send it to us when it's time. He will. It'll be all right. But pray for us. We need it. Crops are going to fail if we don't. All right, the book of Joshua. Joshua chapter 4. And I don't often preach a theme for that particular day, but I guess we kind of are this week. I really didn't think about it until I stopped and thought. And I thought, well, you know, what are we going to title this thing? And we're going to talk about memorials today, okay? Memorials. And they're everywhere. They're in the Bible. It talks about them. And we're not going to cover a lot, but we're going to cover a little bit about memorials. And we're going to read in Joshua. This is where the children of Israel were getting ready to actually cross over the Jordan River and go into the land that God had promised that they could have. And it was a season of the year when the Jordan River was flooding. It was running deep. And God chose that time so he could show him that he's still God. And they are supposed to follow the high priest as they carry the Ark of the Covenant. It goes in front of them. And in chapter 3, you'll find out that as soon as the feet of the priests stepped into the water, that it's just like God built an invisible dam. He just blocked the water off. And it created a lake above that. And below that, the water just ran on down to the Dead Sea, and the children of Israel could cross on dry land. God has a way of making a way for his people, doesn't he? And he did here. And he had been doing it for them for 40 years. But they were human. And you know what we do as humans? We forget. We forget the last battle that God helped us through, the last mountain he helped us to climb, you know. There's a popular song out now on gospel radio about there's a mountain coming, you know, and we all talk about being on the mountaintop, don't we? And that's kind of like where we like to be. We learn more when we're in the valley, but we like to be on the mountaintop. But how many of you here have ever actually climbed up the side of a mountain? That's a job, ain't it? You better get on top. You're going to have to do some struggling to get there because it's rough to walk up the side of the mountain. Years ago, when I was at the church in Jamestown, adults, we would volunteer to take turns to take a day and get our young people together and go do things. And we had probably 20 kids, you know, and I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll make them tired by the end of the day. I'll take them out into eastern Kentucky, and we'll go up and we'll see the Chained Rock. Anybody ever seen the Chained Rock at Pineville? It looks like a great big old boulder, about half the size of this room up there. And it looks like if it broke off of that ledge, it would roll down and destroy Pineville, Kentucky, and it probably would, okay? And there's a chain that they took up there on top of that mountain, and they stretched it from that boulder back over to the rock ledge. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but it's all one big rock ledge, okay? And the links in that chain weigh 7.5 pounds apiece. It's really long. There's a whole story how they got up there. It's a half-a-mile hike out to it and a half-a-mile hike back, and I thought that'll get them started. Then I'll take them down to Cumberland Gap. We'll go down to Tri-State Mountain. Anybody ever climbed Tri-State Mountain? We only had like 2 or 3 people raised hands, so you probably never have. It's the only place in the United States you can stand in 3 states at the same time. Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee, all at the same time. And it is a 1.5 mile walk up the side of that mountain. And I thought, well, this will calm them kids down. It didn't. But I can tell you this, there were some adults that were panting on the way up and wishing they'd brought them some water. It takes some climbing to get to the top of the mountain, folks, okay? It really does. And then, of course, we took them down. I think one of the most exciting things is when I finally took them to lunch, and that was at the very first KFC ever in Corbin, Kentucky, and then we went by Cumberland Falls and brought them home. But to get up to the top of the mountain is my point. It takes some climbing to get up there. It's not always easy, okay? So these children of Israel had gone through a lot of things, and God had been with them every step of the way. And so now, finally, after 40 years, they're going to be able to go in to this land that God had promised them. And that's what we're going to read about here. I'm going to start out by reading verses 1 through 9 in Joshua chapter 4. And it came to pass, when all the people were clean passed over Jordan, that the Lord spake unto Joshua, saying, Take you 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe a man, and command ye them, saying, Take ye hence out of the midst of Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones. And ye shall carry them over with you, and leave them in the lodging place where ye shall lodge this night. Then Joshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared of the children of Israel, out of every tribe a man. And Joshua said unto them, Pass over before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of Jordan, and take you up every man of you a stone upon his shoulder, according unto the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, that this may be a sign unto you, that when your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, What mean ye by these stones? Then ye shall answer them, that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord when it passed over Jordan. The waters of Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be a memorial unto the children of Israel forever. And the children of Israel did as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones out of the midst of Jordan, as the Lord spake unto Joshua, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over with them into the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. And Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priest which bear the ark of the covenant stood, and they are there unto this day. Now, I hope you got the picture. Joshua, by God's instruction, has told to pick one guy of every tribe. And as they come across that river, they're supposed to pick up a stone. Okay, now I want you to notice these aren't little stones. They're going to place it on their shoulder. They're probably going to see who can outdo who, if I know a bunch of guys. And they're all going to carry a big rock across, and they're going to set it down, okay? And they're going to make that a monument, okay? But then also, if you caught that last verse, verse 9, Joshua went out into the middle of the Jordan River, and he stacked up 12 more stones that were in the middle of the river and left them there. You know why he did that? Because rivers come up and down. They were in the rainy season of the year, and they probably wouldn't see them. But when the water came down, they would be able to see them. And then the whole point was when your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren ask, what's these rocks all about that are piled up here? You can tell them the story. Okay, so let's go on down now to verse 19 and read verse 19 through 24, okay? And the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th day of the first month and encamped in Gilgal in the east border of Jericho. And those 12 stones which they took out of Jordan did Joshua pitch in Gilgal. And he spake unto the children of Israel, saying, when your children shall ask their fathers in time to come, saying, what mean these stones? Then shall let your children know, saying, Israel came over this Jordan on dry land. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of Jordan before you until you were passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up before us until we were gone over, that all the people of the earth might know the hand of the Lord, that it is mighty, that ye may fear the Lord your God forever. Now, if you notice in the first reading we made, verses 1 through 4, or 9, it says that it's a memorial, and if their children ask, then they can tell what God did for them. That's repeated here in 19 through 24 to an extent, isn't it? But this is a memorial that's not just for the children of Israel. Because if you caught the last verse, did you catch the last verse? Then all the people of the earth might know the hand of the Lord, that it is mighty, that ye might fear the Lord your God forever. Now, that wasn't just a memorial for the children of Israel. It was for anybody that saw them and wanted to know what it was about. Now, a memorial, what's that? You know, we don't think about it much, and maybe perhaps until this day. But you know, we could take a field trip right now. I could just get you all together like I would do with kids at Mount Hope, and we could take a hike. How many of you want to go? There's a bunch of people, but there's a bunch of you would go, wouldn't you? Yeah. Well, we wouldn't go too far. We'd just kind of hike over there to Brother Stan Brown's working place called the cemetery. He's looked at them so much he's used to them. But what's out there in the middle of that field? There's a bunch of rocks, isn't there? And they're all hewn out, and they're all shiny, and they're polished, a lot of them are, and some of them are real fancy, aren't they? And what are they all about? To remind us, aren't they? That's what memorials are all about. Now, originally, Memorial Day here in America was meant to just bring us to remembrance of folks that have been in the military and have given the ultimate sacrifice. I appreciate everybody that's been in the military. I grew up in an era where, you know, most people my age didn't want to go because they're afraid to go to Vietnam. Well, I didn't want to go to Vietnam either, but I tried to join. They didn't want me. There's a reason they didn't want me, and I'm not going to tell you because it's none of your business, but they didn't want me, and that's all right, okay? But I have a gratitude toward anybody that's ever been in the military. And you say, well, everybody didn't go fight. No, but they could have. Potential was always there. And when you join up in the armed forces, if they call your name, you're going, okay? And had a gentleman, a deacon at the Mount Hope Church where I pastored for so many years, that was in World War II. He was a cook in the Army, and he spent 39 months and so many days. He would tell me, I know it was 39 months and so many days, never had a break, never took off. And he started in northern Africa, and he fought in Sicily, and they went over to Italy, and had a lot of memories that he wished he could get rid of. But I always thanked Brother Ed for his service, because it's great. But many of those young men that went did not come home. And that's what this day is really all about, okay? To remind us of the sacrifice that was made. These stones that Joshua and his people took out of the Jordan River were not to commemorate a sacrifice that God had made, but simply to remember what God had done for them. A monument is meant to keep remembrance alive. And that's why a lot of you go to the cemetery, you'll stand there and you'll look at that rock and you'll remember, won't you? You remember a lot of times, maybe good, maybe bad, but you'll remember that person. That's why that rock is there, okay? Because I got news for you. God doesn't need that rock to find them. He knows right where they're at, you know. I mean, there's a lot of people that have not wanted to be found of God, and so they'll give you instructions. I want my ashes scattered out in the middle of the ocean, or I want them scattered out in the field. And now we do it because it's economically beneficial, right? I mean, it's about a third of the cost of a regular burial and all that. So, you know, it's just go ahead and put me in a little urn, set me up on your mantle or something, you know, or bury me. It don't make any difference. But God's going to find you. He don't need them rocks to find you, okay? But that's what a memorial is all about. And I've kind of wondered, I mean, the writer says right here that those rocks were still there when this was written. And I don't know how long after Joshua did that it was, but those rocks were still there. And it was to remind them, okay? And we do need to be reminded of things, don't we? We do. And I thought about this, and I wrote down a few things here that I want to share with you today that I thought about just as I was thinking about monuments that we have here in the United States. And I know you've heard it said from politicians, and they're not real smart politicians, but they say that America was not founded on biblical principles. I'm going to tell you, I don't care who says that, they are willfully ignorant. Have you ever been to Washington, D.C.? Have you walked around the buildings? Have you ever noticed how much scripture is written on the walls of the buildings? Have you ever noticed that the Declaration of Independence was based on biblical principles? Did you know that the Constitution is based on biblical principles? If you don't, you need to study your American history from the right perspective, okay? And so we have a lot of things around here in America, don't we, that are memorials. You ever been to Independence Hall in Pennsylvania? That old building's still standing. That's where they first got together and ratified the Declaration of Independence, is in that old building. And if you ever go there, you'll know that's what it's about, because it's everywhere, the Declaration of Independence. You ever seen the Liberty Bell? Some of you don't even know what the Liberty Bell is. It's a big bell that they rang after, or tried to ring it after victory over Britain, and it broke. But they kept it. You know why? Because it reminds us of what we went through to get where we are today, okay? We have monuments that remind us of individuals. We have the Washington Monument, don't we? Why would we build a monument to George Washington? Well, he's called the father of our country. He's the very first president. He was the leader of the Continental Army. And he didn't win every battle, did he? But he won enough that we got our independence, because General Cornwallis didn't want to stand around after Washington got finished with him, okay? Are you guys remembering your American history right here? Okay. Trying to get you to remember this, okay? We got a monument to Thomas Jefferson, don't we, there in Washington, D.C.? Yeah, what's all that about? Well, he's the author of the Declaration of Independence. Also happens to be the second president, right? And a very smart man. A lot smarter than a lot of the politicians that we got today. And was he a Christian? Don't know that he was. We know he was a deist, but nevertheless, there's a building there because of his significant role that he played, right? Okay? We've got the Lincoln Monument. These are all right there in the park right around Washington, right between the Capitol building and the White House. You guys all know where I'm talking about, don't you? By the reflecting pool and all. You guys, who all's been there and seen that? Oh, let's take a field trip and all go back. How about that? I think that'd be cool. But why is Lincoln so important? Well, he's one of the greatest presidents ever, right? Yeah, I mean, he had to put up with us fighting amongst ourselves during the Civil War. And he helped pull the Union back together. Freedom was granted to people of a dark skin color under Lincoln. So it reminds us of that, doesn't it? Can I tell you a little bit about Lincoln that you might not know? He was separate Baptist. I ain't got time to teach it to you today, but he was. William Downs, his pastor, is on our board. How many of you have been to South Kentucky, and as you walk in the front door on the left-hand side, you see that big board up there with all them names on it? There you go. If you've not seen it, you need to go down there and see it. I promise you. We worked months on that. I'm part of the committee that keeps up with that, okay? But William Downs' name is on there. That was Abraham Lincoln's pastor when he was a young man. And if you're wondering how he got into Indiana, he followed a bunch of separate Baptists up here. If you're wondering how he got in Illinois, he followed a bunch of separate Baptists in Illinois around Springfield. We've still got churches around Springfield, Illinois that are separate Baptists. Enough about Lincoln, okay? All that's to remind us about this guy, right? If you've ever been down to San Antonio, Texas, you've probably seen the Alamo. What's significant about that? You say, well, they lost that battle. Yes, but it sparked the rest of the country. It just encouraged us. And remember the cry during the Mexican-American War? Remember the Alamo? It was a cry that let us know that we had something to fight for. You ever been to Pearl Harbor and went to the Arizona Museum? Boy, that's a moving thing. I mean, you take that little boat and go over there and you get off and it's just, it's a hallowed place because the bodies of those men in the Arizona are still beneath your feet right there. But what's that to do? It's to remind us of where we've been, right? To remind us of what's going on. If you go to Washington, D.C. today, you will find a wall that's very long, and it starts at one end, and it's real small with one name on it, and if you keep walking down through there, the wall gets taller and taller all the time, and we just call it the Wall, and that is the memorial for the Vietnam War, and it's got the name of every individual that ever died, and they're in the order in which they were killed on that wall, and it's to remind us of what we went through during that period of time, right? That's what that's all about, okay? Even out in Oklahoma City, there was a guy that created a great big bomb using fertilizer and blew the front end off of a building there, and a lot of people were killed, and there's a monument out there, isn't there, to remind us that we have to be careful, that even living amongst us, there are people that will do that, right? Most of us were living in 9/11, weren't we? Never forget that day, will we? You probably remember where you were at when that happened. I remember exactly where I was at. And I remember when I heard on the radio that somebody had flown a plane into the World Trade Centers, I was thinking of just a little Cessna plane, and I thought, what kind of idiot would fly into a plane? And in a little while, I heard there was another one, and then I found out later it wasn't little bitty planes. But there's a monument there, isn't there, to remind us of what happened that day. You know, I think a lot of times we forget, don't we? So that's why we have those monuments, to remind us. Believe it or not, that flag standing against that wall is a monument, isn't it? It reminds us of who we are as a nation. And people of every political persuasion here in the United States give respect to that flag because it reminds us that's who we are. It's a monument. We could go on and on, couldn't we, with monuments that we've got. But you guys get the point, don't we? That's what a monument's all about, is to remind us of something that has brought us to where we are. What Joshua set up there was to remind them of not just their 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, but it was there to remind them that God kept his word. And if you want to know everything that happened during that 40 years of wandering, all I can tell you is you need to read Exodus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, and you'll know all about it. But that monument that Joshua set up is to tell the people throughout all their generations that, yes, God had made a promise all those years before unto Abraham, almost 500 years before, that God had made a promise to Abraham, but these stones declare that God kept his word. And you know what? That reminds me today that God still keeps his word. If he could put up with the children of Israel for 40 years of wandering with all of their nonsense and their whining and their sinning, he surely to goodness puts up with us. That's what them stones were all about. I want to read about something that wasn't so much a physical monument, but something that God declared, an action that they must do to remind them of what God did for them. Let's go look over here in Exodus chapter 12, and we're just going to read one verse before we go somewhere else, but we're going to read specifically verse 14. But I want you to understand, this is wrapped around the Passover. This is the 10th plague that would take place in Egypt. And God had told them that when we go through this 10th plague, Pharaoh will certainly let you go. And this is what we call the plague of death. And God gave them specific instructions about everything they were supposed to do to prepare for this. Now, I don't know if you paid any attention or not, but did any of you notice over there in Joshua we read it was on the 10th day of the month? Do you know that is the 10th day of the first month of the 40th year after they left Egypt? Do you know when God is giving instructions to them about what they're supposed to do in order to protect themselves from the 10th plague? It takes place on the 10th day of the first month of a brand new year. God keeps his timing. Now, some of you are looking at me kind of weird, but I like timelines. And that tells me God knows exactly what he's doing. On the 10th day of the first month of the very first new year for the Hebrew people, he gave them instructions of everything they were supposed to do. And what they were supposed to do on the 10th day is to take that lamb out of their tribe, out of their fold, and they were supposed to put it up for 4 days. Then they were to kill it, and they were supposed to eat certain things and dress certain ways. And we don't have time to go into all that because all you guys don't want to go home and be with your family in a little bit. But I can spend days talking about it, okay? But they were to take the blood of that little sheep, and they were supposed to paint it on the doorpost and on the lintel of the door in front of the house. And God had said that when I send the death angel through Egypt on that night, when I see the blood, I'll pass over you. That's great. And if you did everything God told you to do and you put the blood on the door, the death angel did not stop by your house. But if there was no blood on the door of your house, then somebody was going to die in your house. It would be the oldest person that lived in your house, both male and female, and the animals too. So I'm giving you way more information than you need, but I get on overload when I get talking about this stuff. And that was the night that God did indeed follow through with his threat, okay? But here's what he told them to do so that they would not forget. He didn't tell them to stay down there in Egypt and build a monument. He didn't tell them when they finally got across the Jordan River to build a great big marble monument or something and inscribe on it what God had done for them. No, this memorial is a little different. This memorial is something that you do, not something that you build. Listen to what he said in Exodus chapter 12, verse 14. This day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. Why did they have the feast every year? Same time every year. It would have taken place on the 14th day of the first month every year. Why did they do that? To remember. So that they could be told, the children, it even tells it later on, it's more than once, okay? I think this is recorded like 7 times between Exodus and before you ever get over to Leviticus, okay? That they're supposed to do this every year on the 14th day of every first day of every first month, the 14th day. They're supposed to do this, and when their kids ask, why are you doing this? Then you take the opportunity to tell them what God did for you down in Egypt. And now 40 years later, we got Joshua saying, here's stones to tell them that God kept his promise. Okay? But I'm here to tell you this thing that took place down there in Egypt in Exodus chapter 12 had bigger significance than just their escape from Egypt. So let's go over to another scripture over here in the book of Luke, and we're going to look where Jesus is talking with his disciples on the night of the Passover feast. And if anybody's taking notes, you can write this down. This was almost 1,500 years later that this takes place, and the Last Supper takes place on the 14th day of the first month of the Jewish New Year. Same time it did in Egypt. Jesus knows that that night he's going to be arrested. He knows that tomorrow he's going to be crucified. He also knows he's going to be dead for 3 days, but on the third day, he's going to come back out of the grave. But he gives these instructions to his disciples. Look at verse 19 of Luke chapter 22. He took bread, and he gave thanks, and he brake it, and gave unto them, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. Listen to the next clause. This do in remembrance of me. Likewise also the cup after supper, saying, This cup is a New Testament in my blood, which is shed for you. Why did Jesus tell his disciples to do that? So they would not forget what he did for them. Now, I don't know if you understand this, folks, because everybody seems to hide from it in the modern church world today, but we still practice this. We still get together during our Easter revival, and we have a night that we go through taking of the unleavened bread. We explain the whole story as we go through it. We take the fruit of the vine and we drink of that. And what are we doing? We're acknowledging what God did for us, not down in Egypt, not when they crossed the Red Sea, because that was for the children of Israel. But we remember, we are reminded of what God did for us almost 2,000 years ago when he sent his son to die on a cross and shed his blood for our sins. We're reminded that that's what he did. And you know why he did it? Because he loves us. Yeah, because he loves us. Do you know why parents like to throw birthday parties for kids? The kid does it because they want the gifts. And you want the cake. I don't want to hurt your feelings, make you feel sad for me, but I never had a birthday cake. Mom knew I wouldn't eat it, so she just never made it. But I had other stuff I liked. Why do we do it? We want to remember, right? Every Sunday morning, anybody had a birthday, come on up here. What are we doing? We're acknowledging your birthday. We're not going to build a memorial to you. Don't hurt your feelings. But we're going to remember your birthday, right? The next one's anniversaries. This is the day husbands don't even want to remember. Well, some of them do, but they don't because it's not that important. But it's important to the wife. So guys, write it down, put it in your phone, put an alarm on there so you remember. What are we doing? We're commemorating something that happened, right? Here again, we're not going to build a monument, put it up there and say that, right? Now, your kids may put it on your tombstone that this is the year mom and dad were married or something like that, right? But that's about the only monument you're going to get. You know why? Because people tend to worship monuments. That's right, they do. People tend to want to worship monuments. I don't care if there's ever a monument with my name on it. There will be. I'm sure there'll be a tombstone one of these days. I could care less. Because this life is not about me. It's about him. It's about him. So I've got to ask us today, as you live your life, what kind of memorial are you leaving behind? So what do you mean? Well, what kind of life are you living? What kind of testimony are you passing on? Not just to your children, but to other people that know you. What kind of What kind of testimony are you leaving? Is it one that honors you? And there's a lot of people that live that life. You know how I know? Because their life is all centered around them, right? It's all about if there's no recognition, they don't care if anybody knows them or not, right? I know people like that. You know anybody like that? They do stuff so they can get recognition. Yeah, they want the praise of men. And you know what Jesus said about that? When he talked about the Pharisees who like to pray in the street corners and down in the temple, he said they like to pray so they might receive the glory of men, so they might be seen. And he said when they get the acknowledgement, guess what? They got their reward. If that's why you're coming to church, if that's why you are proclaiming to be a Christian, you've missed the whole point, because it's not about you. It's about Christ. So how do we leave a memorial for ourselves that is proper, that is correct, that will not glorify us, will glorify Christ? Well, we don't want to build monuments because people do tend to worship monuments. You know, we don't want to do that. We don't put a statue of you up, right? You know, we don't want anybody doing that. So what are we going to do? Well, our life has to become a monument. You say, well, in what way does it become a monument? Well, I'm trying to make this short today, okay, without getting too long. Because I'm telling you, I can get wrapped up in this stuff pretty quick. But we're all leaving a monument behind, aren't we? You're writing your history. And the Bible tells us, Jesus said that we're all going to be judged according to the deeds done in the body, right? Whether they're good or whether they're evil. So there's a record in heaven of your life. And guess what? You're writing it. I always get tickled at politicians that contradict themselves. And you know how the press is nowadays. Oh, you said something different 2 years ago. Oh, no, I didn't. Then they start showing them videos and they're like, oh, that's not me. That's got to be somebody else. You know, you got AI now. You can superimpose my voice over that. No. It's true. They did say it, okay? But we're writing our own history, aren't we? And it's being recorded in heaven. So you can't dispute your history when you stand in front of him because you wrote it. So if you want to be a proper memorial, can I call it that? If you want to be a proper memorial, then you have to have a proper foundation, don't you? It's got to sit on a proper foundation. I wonder what kind of foundation Joshua put under them 12 stones. I don't know, but he said they were still there. They were there a long time, right? I don't know what kind of foundation is under the memorials we talked about in all these different places, but there's got to be a good one, right, to hold it up. Well, do you know that you and I in our lives, we need a proper foundation? And what is that foundation? If we want to leave one that's good, that's going to lead our children in the right path, that's going to direct people toward Jesus Christ, we need to have a proper foundation. And what is that proper foundation? It's Jesus Christ. One of my favorite scriptures of all time, still today, is in Psalm 40, where David said, he said that God heard his cry, and he hearkened unto him, and he brought him up out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and he set his feet on a rock and established his going. And I'm here today to tell you that that rock that David's feet were set upon, even before Jesus was ever born, it was Christ. And when I got saved, and when you got saved, God didn't just bring us out and set us on the banks of the river on the sand and say, now have at it and good luck to you. Hope you don't step in quicksand. Hope you don't fall in a ditch somewhere. No, when he pulled you out of sin, he set your feet upon the rock, Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ is declared in the scriptures to be the chief cornerstone of the church. Now, I've been around building all my life. That's all I really know is building and fixing things. That's about it. And I've got sense enough to know when you start to build a building, you start in the corner. You don't start down the middle of the wall. There is always a cornerstone. And Jesus Christ is the cornerstone of the church. And if you want to lead people in the right direction, if you want to leave a proper testimony to the world of who you are as a child of God, then you must have your feet upon the rock, Jesus Christ. And Peter says that we are built upon that rock as lively stones. Lively stones. We're all little rocks, right? Jesus is a big rock. We're the little rocks. And you put a bunch of rocks together just right, and guess what you'll get? You'll get a building. You can build the wall around the city. You can do a lot of things if everybody will get on board, right? But everybody in his own order. You're not the foundation. You're just a rock in the wall. But if you're on the right foundation, then you're leaving the right testimony behind. And too many people are trying to build upon themselves and not Jesus Christ. See, the whole point about Joshua's stones was not to call attention to Joshua, it was to call attention to God. The intent of celebrating every year the Passover feast or the death of Jesus Christ is not to exalt ourselves or to make ourselves look good, but it's to point people toward the one that died for their sins and can give them eternal life. You see, memorials are meant to bring to memory something that's happened. And if you'll build your life on Jesus Christ, it won't draw attention to you. It should draw attention to Jesus Christ. There's a man named Ricky Capps, still living as far as I know. This is one of my favorite quotes from Brother Ricky Capps. It's stuck on the wall in front of my desk at home. And I got a bunch of them. You guys would think I'd wallpapered my wall with Post-it notes because that's what it looks like. But he said this, and I look at it once in a while and I think, man, I hope I'm living that way. He said, when I die, if people can't say that I reminded them of Jesus Christ, then my life was in vain. And I'll read that once in a while and I think, Lord, is that the life that I'm living? Is that the memorial that I'm leaving behind? So that people can look at me and not remember some of the things I did necessarily, but who was I pointing them toward? What was the motivation behind the things that I did? Was it to make a name for myself? Or was it to point people toward Jesus Christ? And you see, that makes a difference in eternity. Did you know that? For I could make a name for myself. I did. I've told you this before, and you're never going to know everything I did before I got saved. But you guys all know that I was the most well-known person at youth camp. Everybody knew who I was, but not for the right reasons. No, the counselors, they all knew if something happened that wasn't supposed to happen, they'd come ask me. Because they knew I either knew who did it or I did it. And I was usually the author or I did it. But that's not a good foundation, is it? That's not a proper monument, is it? No, what I hope that they all remember is the night that I finally got saved. I hope they remember the difference there was in me the next day, that I wasn't as, and I know some of you, if I tell you I'm not too mischievous now, you'll go, yeah, right. You didn't know me before. I don't want them looking at me. I want them to look at the one that changed me, made me what I am today. I don't want a book written about my life and giving me accolades after I'm dead. No, I don't want that. I want my life to point toward Jesus Christ so that my name is ever brought up. You can say, I remember that guy. He loved Jesus. He reminded me of him. Folks, I want my life to be a memorial. It's not about me. It's about those rocks. I said God keeps his promises. He changes lives. He makes a way where there ain't no way. He leads us and he guides us, and we're willing to follow. You and I are leaving a legacy behind. What is it? I hope it's one where we can look at you and you're laying in the casket someday and say, you know what? I remember that guy serving Christ. I remember the good things that he did. I remember the love that he shared. I remember the spirit that I could feel in that person's life. You're building a monument, folks. What kind is it? What are your children and your grandchildren and your nieces and your nephews and your family going to say about you? Because I can tell you what they say about a lot of people. Well, he acted like a Christian sometimes. He wore the name, but he didn't act like it. Boy, when we all got together as a family, it's all about him. It wasn't about nobody else. I don't want them saying that about me, do you? I want them to say, you know what, I could see Jesus living through that life. What kind of memorial are you living? That's important. You know that, don't you? Because every day you're laying another brick on your story. Every word you say is influencing how you build and what you're building. And when I die, I want him to say, he reminded me of Christ. What memorial are you laying? It's important because it's all about remembering what you did. 12 stones. I'd like to go over and see if they're still there, wouldn't you? They could be, and they could be scattered. But it wasn't about Joshua. It's about God keeping his promise. And God will keep his promise to you if you let him. What kind of memorial are you building? I'm going to ask our song leader to come and piano player to come. And it's been a little different message today, hasn't it? But why do we have memorials? So we can remember. I can look back and look on the lives of many people that I've lost in my life, and I've got very fond memories of them. Very fond. Because of the way they treated me and for what I saw in their life. And then I have to say there's some other ones I look, and I don't know if they're still alive or not, but the memory they left me was not a good one. I want to leave something behind that folks will remember. I want a memorial that glorifies God, not me, but points them to Jesus Christ. Folks, if you're not living that kind of life, you need to. And today would be a good day to turn it around, wouldn't you? You could say on Memorial Sunday in 2026, right down at Edinburgh Church, I finally got things right with God. And I begin to point people toward him and not toward me. If you need to come and pray, let's come as we stand and sing, Brother Dan.
Number 149. His name is wonderful. His name is wonderful. His name is wonderful. Jesus, my Lord. He is the mighty King, Master of everything. His name is wonderful. Jesus, my Lord. He's the great shepherd, the rock of all ages. Almighty God is he. Bow down before him, love and adore him. His name is wonderful, Jesus my Lord. He's the great shepherd, the rock of all ages. Almighty God is he. Bow down before him, love and adore him. His name is wonderful, Jesus my Lord.
Thank you, Brother Dan. That's an old youth camp song to me, guys. And I sung it all the years I was there and liked to sing it, but I didn't know who he was. And the very last year I was eligible to attend is when I found out who he was. And that song means more to me now than it ever did because he is my Lord. Anybody have anything before we dismiss our service today? If not, be safe. I'm not going to tell you to be careful. Drive defensively. Keep your eyes open. Stay safe. And if we don't meet again on this side of eternity, I'll meet you on the other side. How about that? Looking forward. Looking forward. If all hearts are clear, we have everybody standing with us. We'll be dismissed. And we want you to remember, of course, Wednesday night service. No service tonight. Don't come tonight unless you just want to be by yourself. If you got a key, you can come in. That's cool. Okay? But come, be with us. Worship the Lord every chance you get with as many people as you possibly can. And you don't have to do that here. Okay? Don't have to do that. Sister Arsena, would you dismiss us in a word of prayer, please?